Hello, ladies. I hope you're all doing well. I'm Mrs. Sherman, and I have a post on which I am placing these videos. So if you'd like to click the link in the description box and go over there to listen or watch and see some of the other things that I am going to include on that post. And before you go and start enjoying your home and puttering around or doing some things that are repetitive or rather tedious, I would like to share with you my teacup. It's from Grace Teaware, and you can get these at Ross and Marshall's, TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Reject Stores, many different places Tuesday morning, and these are just sold at a very low price, like $5.99, $6.99, but they're still high quality. The print might be slightly off, or there might be some reason that they were not sold in the other stores. But I like to show these because you can go and get them yourself, and uh, I can show a few antiques, but they're hard to find. So today, while you work, I'm going to try to talk to you. I'm Mrs. Sherman, and I have been a preacher's wife for 50 years, and I have been a veteran homeschooler, and so I didn't want all that homeschool material plus the new ideas I get to lie fallow, so I am going to homeschool you, even if you're not homeschooled or you want to be or you wondered about it or you think it's rather weird, which I did. I never really planned on homeschooling when I was younger, but and I did meet some people who were doing it, and I thought they're rather strange people. But then I found my own reasons for doing it. Everybody has to have their own reason. And for some people, they are not happy with the progress their children are making, or they think that it's more wholesome and happy to be at home. They'll have better nutrition, better rest, and better socialization. And so I would like to help you take the mystery out of it and share. I'll share some things with you, and you can say that you're being homeschooled. And I don't care if you're a great grandmother or a grandmother or a mother, or you don't have any children. You can say you are familiar with homeschooling because it's just learning to live life, and it's home based because that's where there's the least distraction and the most contentment, I hope. And so, in these very strange political times, I think it's really important to use the home for its fullest, and we are now discovering many ways that the home will serve us. This is where we will rest. This is where we will learn nutrition and to prepare food that will nourish our bodies and minds. This is where we will do our communicating and our reading, and this will be where we will have a lot of our recreation, our crafts and hobbies, our interests. This might be where we worship. And some of you who have daily devotions, this is the quiet place that you will do that in. That's why home has to be taken care of and treated with dignity. The first thing that I like to do here is to encourage you to get yourself dressed and ready. Um, Someone sent me the dearest thing the other day. She said that her friends were having church on Zoom video, and that one of the ladies dressed up to the hilt, a hat, gloves, a beautiful dress, and afterwards she posted her picture on her Facebook page that Sunday to show what she was wearing. And I was thinking, we can do so much better because it was so beautiful, and I really appreciated that. And even at home, I think we can do so much better. Many of us, of course, live out on farmland and prefer a more country casual look and style. And but we can do our best. We can look our best, and you might not think anyone cares or anyone notices, but taking care of yourself also, I believe, keeps you aware of what's going on in your head and in your eyes, because you get to see your eyes in the mirror and see if they're getting hardened, see if they're getting glazed over from too much bad noisic and bad news. As a matter of fact, I am thinking this week I hope to come back. I hope I could broadcast more often. But right now I'm planting and trying to clean up the back patio and some other things. I would like to come back with someone online talking to me about good news. I'm trying to persuade her to be my good news correspondent, because whenever I phone her, she'll tell me a couple things that have happened, and I'm thinking, oh, I bet this would make such a good news broadcast. And it isn't just Pollyanna type of stuff. It's really, really good news that heartens you, that builds you up, that gives you stability and hope, and you're thinking, yes, that's the way things should be, and just really make you happy. So I hope that she'll come back and tell you some of her good news, and she'll be my good news correspondent. If I can get her on the phone, we will do that, and hopefully maybe today, we will see. So one of the physical signs of discouragement is an unkempt appearance, is letting yourself go. And one of the things that I noticed about people is it isn't just your appearance, it's your countenance and your posture and your bearing. And I noticed, I tried to observe this the other day. I had a friend come over and was looking at my pictures that I had painted for the last 2 years in an art class that I take online. And there were other people here too, because we had had a ladies' day in my home, and we were having a tea, and there were, I believe, 11 of us here. And the table that she was sitting at was where the wall was, where the gallery was. And all my paintings from that time, from those last 2 years, including the beginning paintings and the middle paintings and the more polished ones, were there. And she was, I guess, fancied herself an art critic. And she said, oh, she says, I'll be an art critic. And she'll say, I can see that you're not comfortable with some subjects. And there were 3 basic subject matters, maybe 4. One was scenery, one was still life, and one was human people, children. And she said, I can tell you're more comfortable with some things than other things you're not comfortable with at all. And she mentioned that the subject she thought that I didn't like as much. But what she overlooked, and this is the danger, ladies, of becoming critical. What she overlooked is that they were paintings from the beginning, and in the beginning I wasn't comfortable with any of it. So there were paintings of scenery and paintings of still life and of people that didn't look so great. But then as the gallery got more up to date, I got a little bit better at it, and a little bit more fluid, and a little bit more confident. But after she left, and she had said, you're not good at some things, but you're good at other things, I got pretty, just for briefly, I was tempted to be despondent. And I noticed that my shoulders slumped, that my posture, my stomach stuck out, my posture. This is one of the signs of discouragement, is our bearing. And that my face fell, and I was looking old and haggard. And then I remembered that she's not God, and that she was not really an expert at me. She was not expert in understanding when I had painted these things, at what stage of life I had painted them, what was the weather at the time, what was my mood at the time. Nobody knows these things, And so it is not good to be a critic, and it doesn't build people up. Instead, I think if you want to look at someone's art gallery on their wall, or something they've done in their home, or just maybe their own sewing, or just their hospitality, instead of saying, I can tell you're not comfortable with this, or that you're not as good at this as you are at this, you should say, I see you're making progress in this. I see you have so much potential. I see that you are really enjoying it. And so I just wanted to warn you about your that the discouragement can be seen sometimes. First of all, it enters your mind. And you know, the Bible says, love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul. And so many times we ignore the mind. But people like to attack that part of you because they know they can defeat it. Or maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't realize the effect that they are having. But your mind has to be guarded because it belongs to God, and you have to keep your mind strong. You know, we think, well, our heart belongs to Jesus, and our soul, nobody can touch our soul. But you know, the mind we think is our area, or maybe that belongs to the news media, or maybe that belongs to the education establishment. So the mind is what people are going for, and knowledge is what it's all about in the world. But your mind belongs to God, and it is just as spiritual as your heart or your soul. And so you can't let your mind be defeated, because that is when discouragement comes in, and then you start to slump. And you know, even a child, even a baby will slump. They get discouraged sometimes. And so we have to realize that. People think that children don't, well, remember anything, don't feel anything, but that's not true. Some of this type of debilitation and discouragement begins way back, and you become subjected to it and think that that is how life is, that life is discouraging. But I think that we at least can be people that build one another up, especially ladies at home. And now that you're home more, I don't want to go around and tell you exactly what to do at home, because you can get online and find Fly Lady and all kinds of wonderful videos on how to clean house and how to... I've learned a lot on some of these videos on how to clean house, but I think there are so many of them, I don't really need to tell you that. Everybody has a different home, a different house, a different way of doing things, and different needs. Their husbands are on different schedules, or they're in families that are large or small, and everyone figures out how to do these things themselves, and also can look all that up. So I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm just going to try to keep you company while you get one room cleaned up at least. Now, one of the things that you can do as far as homemaking goes, just get dressed and put an apron on. And I'm trying to collect at least 7 aprons so I can have one a day, that they'll be clean and crisp. And I like to have them, I like to order them and buy them. I used to make them a lot, but nothing can beat a nice stiff apron that's got some body to it. That I tend to sew with thinner cloth. I don't have an industrial machine, so I prefer the heavier aprons. And one good place to get them is at Hobby Lobby. And so I prefer to buy the aprons and sew my clothes. And today I'm wearing a dress that I sewed, and I will try to put it on the dress form and get a picture for you for the post. But one of the things that you can do is just get dressed, get your apron on, and walk around your house. That just gets your joints moving and your body going, and then it triggers your thinking. And so walk around your house, walk around and see what needs to be done. Observe. When your eyes lay on something, if it gives you peace, if it uplifts you, feels happy. Another technique that people have told me about is coming into their house and pretending to be a guest, walking up to the door, see what they see. The other day I walked up to the front door. I thought I might try that, and I noticed a big dirt stain on the bottom of it, and thought, I really need to get a kick plate for that door, and just little improvements that need to be made. So walk around and enjoy looking at everything. Notice the history of your family, because you are building a history. And don't get irritated at little things that the family has left out, because it's a sign of life, and it's a sign that they are happy there and that they're comfortable. And just look around to see what needs to be done. Do the most important thing first. I would say the sanitation areas, your kitchen, your laundry, and your bathroom are the most important things. But I often like to get the front room cleaned up, because that's where people will come in, if they do, if anyone happens to come in. And that first impression and the peace that it gives me is important. However, if everything in the wet areas, like the kitchen, the bathroom, and the laundry, start to smell bad, you really need to do that first. And also, walk around and observe what children will see, what other people will see, and just get an idea of how you are what comfort you get from it. We are sharing our homes less these days, aren't we? Because people aren't comfortable going out to see people, and we are alone more. So since we're alone more, I don't see any harm in making it a luxury home. And I had thought about, luxury living, that we have a little more time for it maybe, to put some luxury into your everyday life. And it can be everything from your grooming tools to your clothing to your furnishings and to your foods and drinks, and put little touches of luxury everywhere, because we're not getting out and enjoying it on vacations or on trips. So just to do it for yourself and your family, and learn to do that. Put luxury living in your home. So this helps also to overcome the idea that work is just boring work, and that you have to clean a floor and you have to wash dishes and it's just boring. Because while you're doing all that, you can think of how you're going to add luxury, or how you're going to make it into luxury while you are doing it. So I talked a lot last time about this cottage core that I had been reading about, and it's nothing more than what we all grew up with back in the olden days, where you took something that was quite ordinary, maybe worn out, and treated it in such a way that it was beautiful. You would shake out that old threadbare rug and lovingly lay it down again, or you'd fold those thin towels and in an exact stack. You wouldn't have much, but what you did have, you took care of in a luxurious way. Now, I've talked about hospitality because we're sometimes not able to do it, and I have said if it's an attitude, and it's just an attitude. It doesn't mean you have to turn your house inside out and you have to have a big tea party for people, but start out with one person. Just have one person over for a cup of tea. And I had someone over the other day, just one person, and it was impromptu. I didn't know she was coming. And she brought me the most delightful thing. And then previous to this, someone else had brought me something very similar. So I think it might be a wonderful, what you might call homey home trend. Was she just got into her garden and got herbs out of there and tied them up. Here's something people are doing too. Instead of buying ribbon, or maybe they've used up all their ribbon, they're just tearing strips of fabric off of, this looks like the hem of an old dress. Instead of getting rid of things, tear them into strips. Now, we used to tear old clothing into strips and then braid them into rugs, or crochet them into mats and rugs. And so that's all she's done, is taken this. You can see the torn edge here and the sewn hem there. And she's brought me parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, or thyme, or whatever you want to call it. And remember the old song, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And then she's put some mint in here also. And what a great idea, to grow your own. Someone told me she had grown some herbs and that she was delighted because she could clip them off and give them away or use them, and they would still be there. They would still be coming back. It's not like pulling up your radishes, there's none there when you're finished, but with herbs there is. So I looked up some recipes for thyme and found some really good ones and did a little bit of food preparation with it. So I wanted you to know about this. I don't want to have too much to show you, but this is something that you can do that is so costs very little. I'm sure you would have to pay for seeds or you would have to buy a plant already. But once you get it in the ground or in a larger container, it will grow. It will be overgrown, and then you'll have something always to bring. And do you know, this is just so sweet. It's better than flowers from the hothouse, from the grocery store. It's so useful. I can use it. I can't use a bouquet of roses. Well, yes, you can. You can dry them and you can use the rose petals for different things. But this is culinary, and this is also beautiful. I put it in a jar of water. It lasts a long time as a bouquet for a centerpiece too. So I'm absolutely delighted. And what a precious gift that is. And I see this trend coming back because just the few days before, someone else had brought me oregano and sage and I forgot something else, rosemary. So that's just one of these cottage core ideas. And I mentioned there's several books out called cottage core, but it isn't anything new. It's just the way we used to live, and just being content at home with little things and being delighted in it. As a matter of fact, someone who has started an art journal, these watercolor art journals where you write with fancy lettering, might take something like that before they use it and use it as a subject and paint it and then write about it. Write about when she got it and what it all is. And so every little thing has, you can get more mileage out of it in several different ways. I talked about this idea of taking an idea and getting more mileage out of it in a previous video. So, as we are spending more time alone in our homes, and as we're working alone, many of us can now start to refine our own character. I mentioned how to do this, and I'm using 3 scriptures. And one is Galatians 5:22 and 23. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, goodness, kindness. Use all of those as subject matter in a little notebook, maybe your cottage core notebook, and start to study them and carve them into your soul, into your create habits out of them. And then there was Philippians 4:8. Think on things that are good, lovely, pure, noble, just, and virtuous, and praiseworthy. And then it was 2 Peter 1, I believe verses 5 to 8. Add to your faith virtue, and to your virtue knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control brotherly love, and on and on. Make character qualities out of this. And now that we're home alone more, we have more time for this refinement. And if you have children and they're at your feet, you could just take one little word like lovely and teach them about it. I believe there's probably a teacher inside of you that you don't even know is there, and that God brought children into your life so that you could bring that out in yourself. And if you outsource all the teaching to other people, then you miss out on that personal growth and that personal interaction that you will have with your children, and with the bonding that you need and they need too. I mentioned last time care packages, on how to do care packages, and so the question came to me, what would you put in a care package to someone? Well, of course, you have to be careful not to put perishables in it unless you're going to hand deliver it. Anything that's perishable, and you've got to be careful not to put liquids in it. But you could put a lot of hard goods in it. You could create your own note paper and envelopes. You can actually make your own envelopes. You just take an old one apart and trace around it and make your own. And you can make, someone had a little personal campaign called Make Envelopes Beautiful, and on the outside of the envelope, she just does beautiful artwork. You can send those in the mail, The outside of the envelope can be beautiful. And I've enjoyed getting some of those from my granddaughter. I'm surprised they even get here because they're so bright and there's so much color on them, but that address always gets here. And so you could put that in there. You could also put something handmade. You could make a little handmade hot pot holder. We call them pot holders. They're just little round or square things. You could make, like I showed you this ribbon on these herbs. You could make rolls of ribbon like that and stick that in there. They might like that. You can just use your imagination. Make a little book. Put anything. The other thing is, think of what would you like to get. What would you like to wake up in the morning and find at your door in a box, in a package, in a care package? You think about that. What would give you the most happiness? My mother had a lot of descendants, and she had 7 children in the first place. And she always used to send my husband the brightest, most outrageous tie. And I asked her, well, how do you decide what to buy, and how do you know if that's his taste? Because he was pretty conservative. And she said, well, I got tired of trying to figure out what everybody else would want, so I buy things that I like that I want to send to them, which I thought was a great idea. And he honored her, and he wore these wacky ties that she sent him. He wore them and appreciated them. And so fill that box with things that you might like. To receive. Now, of course, it's good to keep in mind the type of person that you're packing the care package for. But in general, just think of things that are pleasant, things that are good, things that are lovely. How about packing a care package based on Philippians 4:8? Whatever's good, lovely, virtuous, that sort of thing, or on one of those scriptures that I gave you. Now, I suggested that I've noticed that people are developing the idea of a little home shop in a box. Just put things in there you don't want anymore, things that you have made, and invite someone over for tea and to shop if they want to shop. And then you go shop at their house, or maybe they're going to bring their box to your house. And someone said to me, oh, you mean like the black market? And I was so shocked. I don't think of it as a black market just because you don't have a chain store and a big box store and all these connections to the stock market and everything and licenses. And I said, no, it's not the black market. It's the red, white, and blue market. It's just the gumption and the freedom and the enterprising ways. And now I'm going to stop for a minute and read you a letter. I've been given permission to read this letter. There's nothing to see, so I won't show it to you. But it's from a lady in Belize. Do you know where that is? Is that in Central America? Or in... I'm trying to think. I didn't look it up. Once I did. And she explains it, so I'm going to read this letter to you. And she has sent me a card, a special thank you for what you do. And she always sends me some little clip art. Just so sweet. So I'm going to read this letter. It's only 1 page. And it will amuse you while you... She says, you may use my story to inspire others. So I will read that. I won't tell you her name, but I will tell you it is in Belize because that's different. Dear Mrs. Sherman, greetings from Belize. I am a wife and a happy mother. I was born in Belize, but after we got married, we moved to Canada and then to the U.S. And while there, I started reading your blog for inspiration. Recently, I started listening to your talks. I'm encouraged to be my best at home, and I would like to share with you my experience. For years, I have not enjoyed homemaking to the fullest. I let things clutter and was always behind, and since I felt like I could never keep on top of managing my home, I felt like giving up. You know, that's so familiar. After a while, see, I've experienced this. After a while, I got so used to it, just being right on the edge of never being a day ahead of anything, always right up to the minute, you know. In fact, to make dinner, I'd have to find clean plates and things and quickly make dinner, or quickly wash dishes so I could make dinner. And a lot of it is not because of people who are being neglectful. It's this life is really busy, and I can say this for certain times of life, like when someone has passed away and we're having to go and take care of all the estate and all the things we're take care of. We've been taking care of someone who was elderly, or we have been helping school our children, or helping them get set up in a home. It's easy to get really far behind in it. If you have little children and you've been ill or they've been ill, it's very easy to get that stage. And after a while, I'd get so used to it, I just never occurred to me that it could be better. You know, it just part of that's the way things are here. So I think we all understand that. I had a desire to do something out of the home. Well, yes, of course. And even those of us who don't work outside of the home, it's just nice to get away from a mess. So we get in the car and go somewhere it's all cleaned up, you know. You go to the stores and the shops, they're all neat and tidy, aren't they? I found the home a bit depressing, thinking there was no use trying to manage it as long as the children are young. That's also a problem too, because I learned finally learned that the children enjoyed living in a clean home and enjoyed being tidy, and it wasn't a hardship on them to help to make it a beautiful place, to put things away, if we were kind and gentle about it. But if you were like from the olden days and the parents just waited until things got so bad and then started to screech and yell and threaten and make you so ashamed and make the work miserable, it's hard to enjoy it, because it's bred into you that it's a bad thing. A lot of times parents get very upset with the children, but children aren't fully formed. Their minds aren't fully formed. They have to be trained over and over in a gentle way to keep house and to clean house and to put things away. And it's like I talked about to you about posture. They will stand up straighter, and they have more self-respect, I think, if they have done a good job and cleaned up. But you don't leave them on your own. You go around with them and you help them. So training children is a lot of time and a lot of work, and just to care enough about them that you would teach them how to take care of things. But as I was planning to start a small business away from home, I had a talk with a wiser older lady. She helped open my eyes to see where I was headed. I turned to my Heavenly Father. I hated what I saw when I looked how discontented I had become. Yes, our homes and our appearances are signs of our own neglect and our own discontent and our own attitudes. I asked for wisdom and prayed that God would give me a deep joy of being at home, if that is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Well, he heard and he answered. I made real plans. I started listening to encouraging talks for homemaking. I started decluttering like never before. Fly Lady is also a wonderful encouragement to me. Our children are a big help and enjoy helping a happy mom. right now I am enjoying cooking a lot and hope to walk and freeze and make free up more time for other things. I have a lot of things to catch up on, but I'm looking forward to my work every day lately. You know, that's true. Once you get started and you've cleaned up one area, it's exciting to get up and look and see the progress that you're making. I think one of our problems is we get too caught up socially, and social distractions and social and also media, that sort of thing, distractions make us think that there's something more important out there or somewhere for us. We're just sitting here waiting for a great ministry or for a great becoming a great author or becoming a great. Of course, I know a great author, and I haven't heard from her lately, but um, she's just sitting home writing on pieces of paper stories. But we do get to thinking that there's something else out there and that God has great plans for us when it's right here. I can't wait until every corner of our home has been reorganized. It will take some time, but what else would I rather do? That's a great statement. It's so enjoyable just being at home that my friends start wondering what I am doing. I smile and say I enjoy being at home. And my husband is very happy to see the difference from some time ago. You know what it reminds me of, this letter of When Queens Ride By. Remember that story I read to you? It was a play, and I read to you the narrative. Someone had put it into a narrative of a woman who was so concerned about the apple orchard and about making money that she had neglected her home, and even her children were running around in dirty clothes and hadn't been bathed and hadn't been properly fed until someone uh, broke down. Their car broke down by the side of the road, and she went to talk to them. And while the men were fixing the car, she was talking to this woman who was talking to her about a queen that there were so many rumors that her kingdom was in disarray that she just got all dressed up and looked nice and went in her finest carriage and talked to everyone and waved at everyone. But there was more to it than that. And so she said, here, I do not know what will happen to my business ideas, but it doesn't matter. I am at home and I am content. Thank you very much for taking time to encourage younger women. It makes such a difference. And if I can change after 40, then so can other ladies. So I am so happy that you wrote that to me and that you allowed me to read it. And so thank you so much. That is a wonderful story, and I loved the way you expressed yourself, saying that you're encouraged. You know, by every bit of progress you're encouraged. You know, your posture will improve, your appearance will improve. And so also I wanted to show you today, I wanted to tell you about today Lady Amy Bain, who has On the Journey, and she's one of my blog roll people, and she has her newest newsletter out. I don't know if she is publishing it online yet. I haven't gone to go look. But this is what her newsletter, just blank on the other side, just what her newsletter looks like. And I wish all of you would just do one. They're called commonplace newsletters or commonplace letters. And each one of you just do one, because here's what she can do with this. I hope you're listening, Amy. She can take this, and then after she's collected so many, put them in plastic sleeves that have the little holes in them, you know, and make a notebook out of them. So now she has a book for her children. She has a record of it. It's just beautiful. It's just wonderful. I wished I had done something like this years ago. I'm so far behind now, I don't even know if I could ever start. But today her lesson is on flowers. And she has taken out all these sections and written in different spaces and different ways on this and made it absolutely beautiful. She can do many different things with this, you know. See, there are lessons in here, and she can get a lot of mileage out of just this newsletter. it's a work of art, and she often has science lessons in it and things like that. And I was talking to my children about, wishing that we had had one big book during homeschooling where we wrote down everything. We learned about the clouds, and we learned about the weather, and we would observe things, and we had even a little science experience. Wish we had written it all down. And we were talking about that. And then it occurred to me, well, we did. Every one of our children had a newsletter. And the boy that that wanted to be a farmer so bad, well, his was more farmy. And then there was one that liked words, and he studied words like diligence and perseverance and encouragement. And he'd study these words and put them in his newsletter. And so we did keep an account of much of that. Now I'd like to encourage you all use your homemaking as character building. See, you can use it as character building and as a spiritual service to God, and also as a ministry. And so you can get a lot of mileage out of one thing, and be aware also that you're creating your own history. And do you want a history of just not ever being able to keep up, or not being able to enjoy your home? And so that's one reason I think it's really important to have some kind of routine. At least make a list. I never was very successful at doing the 9 o'clock to 9:30, and I did try it, but everyone in the family was so unpredictable, and things that went on in my life were so unpredictable. I found it better just to make the list. And then if I got interrupted, I'd go back to the one that I was on. And I try to at least complete 3 things out of a list of 20 that I do a day. And she was right. Fly Lady is very helpful. I like to go and look at what her zones are and her schedules are, see if I can one day join that. And so I want to show you a few things I discovered. I've had some Thrive classes for my descendants, and these children come on Zoom and do a few things with me. And one thing that I used with some of the younger ones, I don't know, construction paper. I don't know if you know about this. This is an inexpensive paper. It costs about $1 for a container of it. And it's probably been one of my favorite mediums over the years for some reason. I guess because it's what we learned when we were really young, and what we used for constructing things and for making things. And it's kind of a porous paper, and when it tears, it has this nice feathery edge. You can do so many interesting things with it. I actually have made cards out of it. I don't know why I'm so attracted to this. It must be the reason I'm attracted to paper bags. Brown paper bags and construction paper. They're the oldest, simplest art things that we had in the olden days when I was growing up, and maybe you too. But one thing that I learned, and all of you need to start your own little notebook and name it something other than cottagecore, but similar on the line of cottagecore, all these little things that you do. It was that I had them take a piece of this, and I didn't realize you could use it as a chalkboard. And so I had them do a little border around it. This stands up like a chalkboard, you see. And I had them do a little border around it with chalk. And see, I've drawn a truck. And then just take a piece of tissue, Kleenex, or even bathroom tissue, and it will erase. It will erase. And I didn't know that, but you can do it on the other papers too. Like here's a different color, and you can put chalk on it. And it just occurred to me when I was doing this, I'd had an event at my home a couple of years ago, and it was for singing for ladies. We were just going to come together and sing, and that was the theme, was singing. And so I had gone around to these cheap places and bought all these cheap chalkboards and some chalk. I must have bought 12 of them and put them all over the house with words from the Bible about singing or names of songs like Sing and Be Happy. And I had them all over the place. And I had spent all that money. And then I had piles of these chalkboards. And I may have bought more than a dozen. And realized later, I could have done it on these. And then I could have tossed them later. But think about that, how this can work for you, if and chalkboard's very popular right now too. But they were the little ones were thrilled with it that they could do that and have their own chalkboards. Now I watched children pretend over the years, and as we were children we would pretend, and we could go anywhere with our pretending. We went on sailboat rides, we went on train trips, we went on car trips, we went on hikes, we went on luxury liners and airplanes, and we also visited we visited our grandmother who didn't come to see us at that time, but we pretended, we'd go for a walk and then we'd come back and we were visiting our grandmother. And I also watched children as they play and realized that we need to keep that kind of play in our lives. And this is one reason that I was able to do some things in my home with a different mindset. It brightens your mindset when you think of being somewhere else. So sometimes if you've gotten a little bit tired of it and you can't go anywhere or you can't escape it, then if you act like it's somewhere else, it's very, very helpful. And one of the things that really motivated me and helped me was to have an inn here. And then, of course, my descendants came and they actually did stay here and we had real food. But I'm busy thinking of other things that can be done that can help. And so that's one way to brighten up a dull mind when you can't keep up and you're not able to. Is also another motivation is maybe someone's coming. And even if they're not coming, you can think of it as getting ready for company. Now, I noticed in these old McGuffey readers, this is the third McGuffey reader, and I'm not saying, go out and buy these. These were written in the 1800s, so you might have a hard time understanding the way they were written or for what reason, but it was written when most children were rural children. So it's rarely about anything in town. Maybe now and then there'll be a shopkeeper and someone buying something, but mostly it's rural. And it's children at home. And I noticed in one of them, and I'm not sure it's this one, that these children were playing that they were in a carriage. And they had a team of horses, and they were sitting inside of this luxurious carriage. And it was part of the story that they could read. And it was, our horses are ready to go. And we are inside. The lantern is lit. And we have a blanket on our knees. And just, they're getting ready for this ride. And I noticed my own grandchildren would go outside and play like they were going somewhere, sitting in something and going somewhere. So transportation is always fascinating when you're pretending or when children. Now there are some people that don't believe in anything other than the now and the right now and everything. But if we don't do this, then reading the Bible is going to be difficult to understand because it's a history, and we're reading about things of long ago that apply to today too. And you have to be able to see a picture in your mind of Adam and Eve in the garden, or Noah on the ark. You have to be able to see it. And so a lot of people object to um, concepts and understanding and seeing things in your mind, that it can only be the right now. Things can only be right now. Well, that is a very materialistic way of approaching life. And at home, we have the opportunity to present life in depth and in many different ways. For example, years ago we had, back in the olden days, I hate to say it's the olden days, it was only the 1980s, when they had the home interiors. And the home interiors was a good teacher because they presented wall hangings and pictures and wall art that had meaning. You know, children fishing by a pond, or mother sitting in a rocking chair with her children reading a book, and sometimes it would be one of these readers. And these have been reprinted now, so you can get new ones, and it's the Christian School edition. And there was a lesson in here about corn, about how corn used to be grown and why it was planted so many feet apart. It was so that the plow could get through the middle. And one of my grandchildren called me to talk to me about that because he had just read it, and he wanted to tell me about how corn was planted in rural America and probably other places too. And so that's just something I wanted to bring up to you right now. And I want to also talk to you a little bit about improving your happiness. Improving your happiness. You know, like I told you, the lady who had said that my art, I wasn't very comfortable with, I wasn't very good at some things. Like she suggested that certain painting indicated that I didn't have any talent in that area, or wasn't very comfortable with doing that, and she misjudged it. And so this is part of the reason that you can't allow your children to be subjected to people who are criticizing them, because you are their authority and you are their teacher, and you can't let them judge you. How many of you back in the olden days, before homeschooling was real prevalent, came home with a report card and they had all this social stuff on there, like works and plays well with others? And of course you're really young. I mean, these kids are 6 and 7 years old, and it takes a lifetime to learn that. And they're taking children that aren't fully formed and giving them a report card, and you come home with that. Your parents would be very upset because you got a bad grade in social things. You know, you worked, and then they would label you all of your life. They don't get along with other people. They'll never have any friends. They don't work and play well with others. And yet these are formative years. These are learning years, you know. Instead, if you keep them home and you teach them, then you can teach them to work and play with others yourself. But why let them be judged by other people? And so, because they don't know, you know, what kind of training that they need. They're really not that good at it. And so what I'm trying to say is we're better off at home learning to be happy than to go out to some public place and have them tell us how to be happy. And and the trouble with report cards is that they stay with you all of your life. If you ever wanted to run for office, they'll dig out your old report cards and try to smear you with them, and not realizing that, you know, the world doesn't allow repentance. The world out there, the schools, the businesses, they don't allow repentance. They don't allow renewal of your life. They'll always keep a record of wrong, right? And so that is why I am homeschooling you, because homeschooling is very forgiving, and we don't keep a record of wrong. So if you don't learn it, or you don't get it right, or you're not very good at it, we'll just try again, or we'll move on to something else. So here is one of the problems of happiness, especially in the home, is that how other people treat you can cause you some dismay. And like I said, when this lady was talking about my art, I just for a brief moment was tempted to slump and feel really bad. But the reason I had it hanging there was for myself, to remind me how far I had come. Yes, over here was more primitive looking, and there were some things that I didn't get right, but down here at the lower levels where I had hung my art, I had progressed a little bit, and that was mainly for me to see that. Also, I wanted to encourage my children and grandchildren that you can enjoy your art and you can hang it up, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be what other people think it is, and so they would do it. And one time when they were here in the middle of winter, they picked out one of the paintings I had done and said they wanted to do that. So I got out my painting, I stuck it there, and we copied it, and then they all got to paint one too. And their mother was very happy with that. So how other people treat you and speak to you can cause a sudden twinge of sorrow or regret, and we can't go around feeling like that, because that's not what God put on you, and they aren't God. They are misjudging you. And if it is something that you feel that you need to correct, I got in a social situation once, and I was 60 back then. I couldn't believe it, how people, they still want to, they want to change it. You would think after 60 or 70 they'd leave you alone, because aren't you like kind of stuck in your ways at that? But no, the critic is always active. And I was in a social situations that I had to be in, and I was with my husband, and he was talking to somebody, and somebody was talking to me, and they said some very critical things, like, you always call, you said, because we mentioned going junking, and we call the antique stores junk stores. Why do you call them junk stores? Why do you call it junk? You always call it junk. And it was done critically. It wasn't in fun. And so then they said something else, like, you're always writing in your little book or something like that. And finally I gave up, and I looked at her and I said, you're right. I will have to try to do better. And that totally silenced her, because what are you going to do with a person that agrees with you? So that's how you treat a critic. The other way you can treat a critic is to say, could you come and give me some pointers? Could you come and give me some tips? Tell me what to do. So how could I have made that better? And they don't often want to get into it, because it would just be so involved and so much work. So put them to work. Put them to work. Ask them how they would do it better, and to show you. And if they could show you, show me how to clean up that, and make them do the work. Okay, so here's how you can improve your character and become happier, because that is the source of happiness, is character improvement. And cleaning up something and getting your house in order is really something. And if you go to work every day, you'll notice you'll be cleaning up something, and then the same thing has to be done over and over again, but there's not much change. Whereas at home, I noticed the other day I was cleaning up after some event that I'd had. It was after the train. I was starting to go and change all the bedding and clean. I thought, if I'm going to be bothered to clean up and change the bedding, I'm just going to change the whole decor. So I put different colored blankets on, and I rearranged the paintings and the wall hangings, and just redid the whole thing. And you can't do that in somebody else's residence. You can only do it at home. So in order to gain your happiness, you're going to have to gain some character at home. Overcome your procrastination. Some people call it laziness. Laziness is a habit that you sometimes don't even know you have. It took me a long time to realize. I'll look at something, like I was looking at that door, thinking I needed to paint that door. But that's all as far as it would go. I would think, I need to paint that door. But I wouldn't really go and get the brush and do it. But the other day I did. And so you're gaining progress when you actually are, instead of thinking, we're great at making lists, but I told you last time, make a list of 3 things and obey yourself. That's my problem. I make long lists, but I can't obey them. I just don't do that. So, and get rid of your disorderly habits and clean up after yourself. Then this will really help take care of your appearance. Um, don't Here's another thing that's really important is don't allow others to impose too much on you. I finally had to, because I'm a preacher's wife, I have to be really careful about my time, because some people think that I'm just available all the time. Well, I do have a day during the week in which people are invited over for tea, for a Bible class if they want, for ladies. Um, but I have to put restrictions on it, because I find myself getting further and further and further behind in things, and things getting a little less orderly. Another thing that is very important is to be creative, to keep up your creativity. If you've got something that you like to do, or like to do for a little while, you don't have to keep it up forever, is creativity, especially in the home. And the home can be used for so many things. Now, I'll sign off by talking about the social part, the people part, and things that I have noticed. The closer that people get to thinking that everybody should be equal and everyone should be alike, I don't know what you want to call that, the more I notice that they are unhappy with your responses. For instance, the closer people get to thinking that everyone should be equal, uh, in no one, they don't like to see other people get ahead, is what I'm saying. They don't like to see other people make progress. I've noticed this in the home sometimes. There might be someone who doesn't want the woman to clean, doesn't want her to clean up. They have a real problem with that, and it bothers them that she wants to be organized or she wants to be orderly. It really bothers them. They feel uncomfortable with it, and I don't know why that is. But the closer people get to socialism, which that's a long drawn out subject you might want to look up and see what I mean by that. The closer they get to believing in the socialist lifestyle, the less happy they are with people's generous spirit, the less happy they are with people's good gestures and their sincerity, the less happy they are with happy people. And they might even accuse someone who's sympathetic, empathetic, who maybe is sorry for something they did, as not being sincere. How many times have you apologized to someone and they wouldn't accept it because they didn't think it was sincere enough? They were after blood, I guess. And so these are just some things that I have observed. And so don't take anything I say too seriously, because everybody has their own way of thinking and doing things. And if you want to, you can just think of it as the rantings of an old woman. And but these are some of the things I have noticed. And there are some people we might be becoming more social now, as the world kind of opens up and people are might be visiting a little bit more freely. There are some people who are small-minded, closed-minded, and may give you a bit of trouble. Like I said, the critics and the people who have the hasty, sharp replies, the ones that answer back quickly and in a contradictory way, those that like to contradict everything you say. I call them the untouchables. I have been tempted so many times to get these people aside, and I mean over the years, and I'm so glad I didn't, and just tell them off and tell them not to do that anymore and tell them not to talk back to me. And I'm so glad I didn't, because what happens is these people all have a husband or a mother and father or brothers and sisters or children, and one day one of them is going to have to set them straight. Or maybe they're at work and their employers and their fellow employees will correct them. So if you wait long enough, somebody will, and then you won't, because if you do, then you're starting a problem, you're starting a war, and bad feelings. You don't need any more burdens. You don't not need any more problems. And so you just wait, and God will send somebody into their lives, or they might just stumble onto something and do something wrong and learn better from it. The impact might be better. But there are some people that I call untouchables, because if you say anything, there are people that don't have anything to say, but they wait till someone else says something and then they object strongly, correct it, criticize it, or contradict it. I call those people untouchable, and I clamp my jaw shut around them, because even if you said it's a lovely day, they will say, not for long. Although I do have friends that enjoy aggravating these kind of people, and they'll say, let's see if so and let's have a little fun with so and see if they'll object to everything. And they have a list of things they say, and just for fun they trigger them off. But we don't like to do that. So ladies, I hope that this has goodness, I hope I have left you on a high note. And I do have one other thing right here. And this is, somebody asked me, how would you turn education into a Christian education? Well, this is from the teacher's edition of Grammar and Composition. And I ran across these sentences. I wasn't home educated, and I didn't go to Christian school. I went to a public school. And I always thought that life seemed shallow until I got into homeschooling, and then I started to understand more how you put the Christian life into action, and how you put everything you think, everything you read, and everything you do, you put the Christian values in it. And so I just want to read you these sentences, and you're to identify the difference between a simple sentence and a complex sentence. A simple sentence just has one thought, one subject, and one predicate, okay, with the verb in it. And a compound sentence is like two sentences put together, okay? It's two thoughts, or one thought and then one description of that thought. So listen to how they do this. So you have to write S for the simple sentence. And notice something as I read this. Great works are performed not by strength, but by perseverance. When the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. We would often see beauty if we would only look. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her own hands. A true friend is a gift of God, and he only who makes hearts can unite them. Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the first fruits of thine increase. If a man's eye is on the eternal, his intellect will grow. The man is the richest whose pleasures are cheapest. A false witness shall not go unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall perish. Did you notice something about all this? Putting thoughts into your heart, into your mind while you do the sentence, instead of the dumb sentences that sometimes a secular education will give you. Now, maybe they would have some wise sayings too. I don't want to put that down completely, but look at what a Christian education can do to you. You can feel the love, can't you? You can feel it. The feeling is there. The man is richest whose pleasures are the cheapest. Well, not only is that a complex sentence, you might want to stop and discuss the context and the concept. The man is richest whose pleasures are cheapest. We talked about that in some of our ladies' classes, about the woman who was happy just having a cup of tea and didn't have to go out to parties, and really appreciated the creation around her. So ladies, I hope that this has done you some good, and that you've been able to get a few things done. And I really am appreciating your leaving some comments, and I'm sorry if I don't get back to them, and I will try to answer some emails too. So until I see you next time, I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.